It's almost maddening in a way to understand that you're losing it, at least partially. I made an error in my last long entry about the Katsuragi class battle cruisers. I'm lacking sleep severely, and it's not getting much better. The recent effective stalemate in the Mediterranean is maddening to a degree, and it's taking a toll on my health. Well, to be frank, this entire war is. And, well, start doing the math. I'm getting older. But I can't quit yet. Not now. It's just frustrating that we just seem to be stuck. We can't break through anywhere. Crete is going maddeningly slow, and this new invasion plan in Tunisia is only being done because the Tunisian monarch is rebelling against the German governor, who seems completely in line with the civilian dictatorship and has, well, quite frankly, lost the entire support of about half of his garrison, who all just so happen to be monarchists, which helps our cause, in a way. Now I'm just sitting in my office, debating what to do. The negotiations with the Crown Prince of Germany have gone well, or about as well as we could hope. They've got contacts inside every area of government, and they've been trying to do their best to keep the Black Sea Fleet just supplied enough, but not overly supplied where they could attempt a breakout. And, well, it seems to work, as there are two German battleships that are effectively just guarding the Bosporus. It doesn't make any naval sense. With the limited amount of tonnage and the recent damage to the battleship Yamashiro in a battle near Odessa taking on a German task force, it's difficult to say why the Germans just don't try to break out. Thankfully, it seems that the answer is basically just the monarchists inside doing everything they can to just stall until they get enough power to revolt. Start the popular uprising, throw the civilian government out of power, and then sue for peace. That's fine by me. And with the war growing a bit more desperate each time, I guess each time I make these entries, it's just becoming almost monotonous. When casualty numbers pour in, it becomes almost inevitable. It's frustrating, but it's war. I still haven't landed on the final strategy. But I did get an interesting document laid on my desk a few days ago. Well, to be frank, it wasn't anyone from the Naval Department laying that folder on my desk. It was Billy. He had been staying with me to help me make sure I kept an eye on my health and, basically ensure that I wasn't going to do anything stupid. He's still the consulate and a naval attaché from America, but he seems to have settled into Japan as if he has lived here his whole life. But he insisted that I keep to my routine and start working out more instead of just sitting in my chair reading reports. So he'd read the reports to me, translating as best as he could, although he would just most often read them in Japanese, which he's actually fluent in. But he had been going through my files as we were organizing one day during a house cleaning day, and he found a project that had been sitting on my desk for, I guess, about a decade. It was actually something I had designed with the guys as a joke, to say, what would be the most powerful battleship you can imagine? It doesn't have to be practical, but it should have a level of practicality to it. We designed it on a scrap piece of paper and wrote a rough estimate of what it would do. Well, Billy and I sat down and looked over the design, and we drew up some documents as we talked. Read reports, and by the time we were done with the workday, we actually had a design. It was rough, could be considered crude, but a design was there. It called for a ship of 100,000 tons armed with 4 dual 20-inch guns. 20-inch guns. We both looked at each other and wondered why we had designed such a detailed ship. Why was this project that I had jokingly nicknamed Project Divine Judgment back in the day, why we had spent all that time that day designing it? A few days later, I think I found my answer. A constant nagging piece of information is just sitting in the back of my mind, festering constantly. 17.4-inch guns. We thought calibers over 16-inch were largely impractical. A 14-inch caliber is a pretty versatile gun. It's small enough where you can reload a bunch of shells if you have good crews and good auto-loading systems, even rudimentary ones, and you can put out a lot of fire. And it's large enough to do damage to other battleships of its class, even battleships with heavier armor, at mostly ideal ranges. Then we started getting involved in this war against Germany, and we quickly learned that the 14-inch guns weren't going to cut it. So we went to 16s. Although, frankly, the Nagato class had been on the table for some time. And then we encountered the Braunschweig class. And we quickly realized if Germany ever went to a full 18-inch caliber, we'd need a counter. So, we laid down 2 Yamatos. And then they'll be done in 8 months, along with 10 new light cruisers that are going to reinforce our fleets in the Mediterranean. Why 20-inch guns? I don't think anyone fields that level. And I know the Americans are starting to field more 16-inch gun battleships of various calibers as they're trying to figure out a standard caliber, but 20-inch guns in a ship of 100,000 tons, it's impractical. Why would you ever need something that big? It could maybe barely fit in the Suez. Based on just a rough estimate, it could theoretically fit in the Suez. You just have to widen it by quite a few meters, but in theory it could fit. It definitely couldn't fit to the Panama, but I mean it's large enough where it could get around Cape Horn, no problem. And where would you even store it? It's such an impractical design, and yet we looked at it as if we were actually going to build it. It's scary in a way, realizing that naval technology has gone far enough where even a ship that sounds as ridiculous as 100,000 tons with 20-inch guns is even a consideration. It's worrying, because I fear, and I believe rightly so, that some madman might actually try to do it.